Now this watch is so beautifully detailed, every molecule counts. Let's make some time today for one of those people who give Swiss horology its true face, Mr. Abraham-Louis Breguet, who is arguably the greatest watchmaker ever existed, and who will always be remembered for a masterpiece he created some 220 years ago, the Tourbillon. And because this is such a very joyous occasion, I went to a very special place for it, the Tourbillon boutique. And in here I will show you one of the greatest pieces of watchmaking in the world. It is called the Classic Complication 3795, and this really is a visual spectacle that offers the best that horology can give. Just look at those organic shapes, all so natural while being so technical at the same time. But before I get carried away a little bit too much, let me first tell you a little bit more about this very special man. Mr. Breguet was born in Switzerland in 1747, but moved to France at the age of 15 to learn watchmaking. His creations drew the attention of the noblesse, and working from the quai d'horloge in the shadow of the Notre Dame, he soon made fame as the watchmaker of the fine fleur, making some of the most complicated watches in history and even the first wristwatch. Mr. Breguet died in 1823 in Paris, but what he started is now considered one of the oldest watch companies in the world. In his days, watches were carried in pockets, which really affected the accuracy of the watches. And Mr. Breguet found a solution for this problem, which was a problem in itself, the tourbillon. The idea of the tourbillon was to compensate for the physical effects of keeping the watch in one position all the time. This is done by creating a cage that rotates on its own axis and has the balance spring and escapement held within it. Which already is quite hard to explain, so you might imagine how hard it was to actually make. Now, how long he exactly took to do this, that's not entirely clear. Mr. Breguet was granted the patent in 1801, but the Breguet archives show that he had been working on it for years at that point. Of the 40 pieces he made, some 30 tourbillons still exist. Each piece took about 6 years to make, and not 2 of them are exactly the same. Now, one very common misunderstanding comes with the name itself. Although tourbillon now translates as tornado, Breguet meant something different with it. He referred to a planetary system that rotates on its own axis and the energy that causes the rotation of the planets around the sun. And now, 220 years after its invention, the tourbillon is still an eye-popping invention. Now, the tourbillon we're having today is inside the calibre 558QP3, which is made out of 196 parts. And it comes in a stunning 41mm rose gold case on a very handsome alligator leather strap. But I assume you have a bigger question on your mind. You're wondering, I'm not carrying the watch in my pocket, is it still any useful for me? Well, kinda? The tourbillon is an everlasting reminder of what human brilliance is capable of. And it shows that complexity is beautiful in itself. And it doesn't stop there, because those brilliant watch wizards at Breguet even added a second Grand Complication, called the Perpetual Calendar, which is a mechanical masterpiece that takes even the leap years into account. Which means it's accurate until way after you drew your last breath, or if you forgot to wind it. The date is shown with a retrograde hand, meaning it flips back to 1 at the end of the month. And Breguet was arguably the first to actually put a perpetual calendar into a wristwatch. And the inventions don't end there. The balance spiral is called the Breguet overcoil because it was invented by, well, you know who. Even the shape of the hands is called after him and easily recognizable by the elegant circle at the tip. Now this watch is so beautifully detailed, every molecule counts. Just look at the bottom of the dial. Just a few millimeters show the guilloche pattern, the engraving, the anglage and brushed finishing, the tourbillon, the Breguet overcoil, and that's just a small part of this watch. Now there is one very tiny little downside to this watch. It is about this long. It's the price tag, because the price of all this virtuousness is 236,200 euros. That's so much money! Okay, let's just do it. Let's sell the kidneys and... what? That's not enough? Okay, let's sell the liver as well, or... Now this is gonna be difficult. What's more important, watches or drinking? Oops, I'm deviating again. Let's go back to the watch, because there is a complete universe inside all of this goodness. You'd nearly forget there is a world outside this watch case. Now, normally at this point in the presentation, I would ask you a completely banal question and then move on to my completely useless machine called the Coca-Cola meter. But this watch asks for something much better. In fact, this watch is so much better than I am that I decided to just stop talking and let your eyes feast on the impossible beauty of this Breguet. Now this watch really is an achievement of human brilliance. It is art for art's sake. Some 220 years after its invention, the tourbillon has gotten a meaning that is so much larger than it was meant to have. It is a visual feast that combines the best horology has to offer, aesthetics, technique, and an unbelievable history that started with one man only, Abraham-Louis Breguet, a man to whom applies only one word: genius. Did you like that video? Do you want to see more? Please do let me know. Like, subscribe, leave your comments, and see you next time.